Another home game is possible in the college football playoff, and there was a lot at stake. That makes Penn State's Senior Day even more special.
It's an emotional day in general. And then on top of that, an opportunity to go to Indianapolis and play in the Big Ten championship game. Pretty cool.
Michigan's win at Ohio State paves the road to Indianapolis for the blue and white. Their defense leads the way with another dominant performance against the Terps.
And when we found out, obviously we're excited. No one wants to not practice this late in the season, so we were all just very happy.
Next up is the #1 team in the country, Oregon, with a conference title on the line. One of the greatest Nittany Lions of all time, Kerry Collins, would love to see them sink the Ducks, just like his team did in the '94 Rose Bowl.
Looking forward to it. I hope they beat those Ducks like we did, and we'll be watching from down here in Nashville for sure.
Whether it's in the Music City or in person at Lucas Oil Stadium, PSU fans, get ready for the Big Ten title game. Nittany Game Week starts now. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Nittany Game Week. I'm Todd Sadowski alongside former Nittany Lions assistant coach Jay Paterno, who doesn't love an early Christmas gift. Michigan, with the shocker in Columbus, opens the door wide open for PSU to play Oregon in the Big Ten championship.
Got to hand to Michigan and thank you, and,
Yeah, big thank you.
Strange bedfellows.
Yes, absolutely.
Amazing blue. It was hard, but I did it.
It's not easy to root for the Wolverines, but in this case we did. I believe the Nittany Lions are undefeated when our other co-host, Tom Bradley, joins us from Pittsburgh. Tom, what a memorable Saturday in Happy Valley. Senior Day win over Maryland combined with this surprise trip to the Big Ten title game.
Couldn't have gone any better for them on that Saturday. It was like a lot of presents were coming a lot of different ways on Saturday. But the way they played, that was just an outstanding football game.
Yeah, certainly not a surprise that they beat Maryland. The Big Ten trip is the surprise. So we're taking a scrap mentality this week. It's defense first as they scare the Terrapins back into their shell. The offense starts slow and really pours it on to put the game out of reach. And more on Senior Day and why this year's a little different in our opening drive. Not sure if any of your defenses gave up a touchdown on their first play from scrimmage, Tom, but after the Terps cash in on a fumble by Penn State, that's it. 7 quick points and then nothing the rest of the way. Pretty impressive for the D.
You couldn't ask for any better. They were all over that. You talk about a defense that was swarming. That was a defense that was swarming. That was the Terrapins. They had their hands full that day.
Yeah, Maryland actually has some success on the ground. Backup QB M.J. Morris was running for his life most of the afternoon, Jay.
No question. The pass rush was a problem, and that's how they were going to have to disrupt that pass game. And, Penn State's defense really did what they had to do.
6 sacks, 3 interceptions. The Nittany Lions defense owns the day and leads another dominant win over Maryland.
Going to the Big Ten championship, and that's something we never did in my 4 years. At my senior year, me leading the team, us going to that type of stage and that type of environment, that's good. Especially for all the seniors that we all deserve and we put in all the work, so yeah.
Another solid day for the defense, especially against the Terps. Seems to happen every single year.
Well, sometimes when it's cold, it takes the offense a little bit of time to get going. But once they got going, it was hard to stop them, and it was like sledding downhill on a cold day. Tom, that offense really did some great things.
Well, they sure did. They were dominant. That's the appropriate word to use for that day.
Yeah, well, look, Drew Aller doesn't always get a ton of respect for the job he's done at quarterback, Jay. 17 of 26 for 171 yards and a touchdown. He directs the offense to the easy win. Did not make any of the Big Ten first, second, or third teams. He's honorable mention all conference.
Well, if you look nationally, if you talk the top 5 or 6 quarterbacks in the league, 3 of them were guys that are on that list. So, it's a tough list to try and crack. It's been a while since we've had a first-team Big Ten, all Big Ten quarterback. But, Drew you can complain all you want. He's in the Big Ten championship game.
He's completing over 71% of his throws with only 5 interceptions. Most importantly, he's led this team to their 11-1 record.
It's a game of momentum and, I think in a game of resiliency. So I think we've done a great job throughout this year of just getting better at that. And, when we have been tested, just bouncing back in different ways and finding ways to win multiple different games in multiple different styles.
The Owler and the Nittany Lions haven't always started fast in the first quarter, but they've scored 150 of their 400 points this season in the second. Kind of a strange situation this season. It's possible Penn State will host another game if they lose to Oregon. They're likely to be in Beaver Stadium for a first-round contest. It doesn't matter because Senior Day is always special, guys, the way that it works out. And Tom, what was that like for you to see the young guys grow and mature as people and players? They all get introduced to the crowd and have their moment running onto the field.
Well, I think one of the things, and Jay's been a part of this too, you remember the days you started recruiting with the first phone call, the days you went to the high school, the days you saw them play games in high school on Friday nights, going in, meeting with the parents, and then coming up to visit. And I can still remember, as you watch them go out there, you remember the days, Jay, when they were over at your father's house, with the parents and all those things. So it all it goes so quickly, that's for sure.
Yeah, especially for guys that have been in the program for a number of years. Obviously, with the transfer portal and those kind of things, some of those seniors have only been there a year. But, the ones that you recruited and that played and stayed the whole time, they're really special. And there was a really special group of guys that come into the tunnel Saturday.
Yeah, knowing Ohio State had already lost and then also processing the Senior Day ceremonies, it was emotional.
I'm a coach that I love them hard, but I also coach them hard, and I hold them accountable. And it's not always puppies and rainbows. So, to think about some of the journeys I've been on with these guys, it's a lot. I'm proud of them, but it's an emotional day in general. And then on top of that, an opportunity to go to Indianapolis and play in the Big Ten championship game, pretty cool.
Of course, one of the seniors fans will miss seeing the most is first-team Big Ten tight end Tyler Warren. Shows off all of the versatility, throws one right on target to Nick Singleton. Also impresses everyone when he hurdles over a defender. We'll get to see number 44 for the postseason, and then certainly at the next level in the NFL. Well, the regular season is now in the rear-view mirror. It's possible they could play 5 more games in the postseason. First up, the number 1 team in the country, Oregon. In the Big Ten title game, we detail a roadmap to victory over the Ducks. When we come back, Nittany Game Week returns after this.
Roadmap to Victory is sponsored by the R&R family of companies.
Welcome back to Nittany Game Week. 11 wins, just the 1 loss, thanks to a surprise victory by Michigan over Ohio State. The Blue and White now have an opportunity to face the number 1 team in the country in the Big Ten championship. Coach Paterno, you've seen the Ducks in person. They have talented players all over the field. How do the Nittany Lions approach this significant challenge?
Well, they got to gear up and get ready for some speed. And interestingly enough, Todd, Penn State and Oregon have played 7 common opponents, all of them in the same venue, home and away, except with UCLA. Oregon went to the Bruins. The Bruins came to Penn State. 6-1 for Penn State, 7-0 for Oregon. And let's talk get a little bit more in depth as we take a look at what the Oregon Ducks bring to you offensively. Start with the offensive side of the ball. Very good in scoring, very good in total offense. Their rushing offense, they're really good at all phases of the ball on offense. And let's talk about some of the players to watch as you look at them. This is a big list of guys to watch because they are talented and they are fast. And on top of all that, don't get caught up in the speed. Their offensive line is veteran, 133 combined starts. And let's talk about how you look at them and scout them. When you look at a team like this, they've got speed at wideout. They've got Tez Johnson, who's really good. They got a running back who's really good. You got to make a decision of how we're gonna protect ourselves against them. Here, Ohio State starts with 2 safeties high, which now Oregon says, let's run the football and watch what happens when they run the ball. They bring Tez Johnson across in the backfield. They get people chasing him. And Jordan James, the running back, is really fast through the hole. He gets in there and creates problems for you. Now, we've got Tez Johnson in the slot. I'm going to have the safety help with Tez Johnson or help in the run game because this guy's a legitimate threat. That leaves you one-on-one on the outside, and Ohio State makes that decision. And look what happens. Burke, the corner from Ohio State, number 10 out there, is a first-round pick by most people's account. This is Stewart, the second wideout in their offense, and he goes right behind him. So those, you got to be ready to match up on the outside. Look at the speed, look at the change of direction, and he goes up and makes the catch. Now they're going to get into wideout screens. They get the ball to their wideouts a bunch. These are like run plays in them. They're easy throws, ones I can still make. They motion across, fake the run, and watch Tez Johnson, how skilled he is catching the ball. This is not a great throw, but look at that one-handed catch, and then he gets up the field. Now, they go to 2nd and 1. It's a good play for him. I've got tight end to deal with and running backs. Now you got to worry about Dylan Gabriel, the quarterback. Quarterback read, he can also move and extend plays. Here he takes the ball and runs with it. And think Russell Wilson. This is the kind of guy he is, not real tall, shifty, intelligent, and really accurate with the football. The defensive numbers are better. They are top 10 in the country in a number of areas. They love to get after the quarterback, and let's talk about some of the people that make that happen. When you look at the players to watch, Jordan Birch did not play in 4 games, did not play against Ohio State. He is a big man that can rush the passer. Ungalela is another great one. The linebacker Butcher, that guy's also a great player, and he's a great baseball player as well. Now, what they want to do is they're a 4-3 defense. They're going to reduce the defense to come down to create problems in the run game. So that's number 1. Number 2, can they stop the run game with their safeties back? If not, watch for safety movement. But here, they're going to keep things in front of them. Michigan State drops back to throw the ball. They make this guy look, hold on the ball. He finally ends up taking the throw underneath, and they rally the ball. They tackle really well, and they can run. Now, once they do that, if they want to change things up, we go to the blitzes. Now they're going to try and set up. They got big guys inside. These, their nose tackle's 340. They're going to move you up front and create essentially running lanes for your linebackers to get into the backfield and make plays. Here they get into the backfield and create a turnover against Washington that helps blow this game open. Finally, their whole mindset is they're going to change coverage, make you think, make your quarterback think. They're going to get pressure on your quarterback because they're really good on the outside. They don't give you any time to think. And watch Birch on this particular series here. Quarterback goes back to pass. They change the coverage, and he gets around and hits him. There is no time for him to react. Special teams is also a factor. They are creative. They do a lot of fun things. Birch, who we just showed you, watch this fake punt to him. This is a 6'6", 295-pounder with a nifty little move right there, gets up the field and gets going. I would not want to be the guy that has to tackle him coming at me like that. This is one of the best punt return teams in the country. They're going to have to cover. Watch the move, watch him get in the open field, and watch his speed as he gets upfield and makes things happen. This blew the game open against Boise State. Boise State had a chance to beat him, but he made some of these plays, and that did it. And finally, we talk about the big man Birch. They also get into a number of 6 offensive line sets, unbalanced here, but you can't get caught looking just at what they're going to do in the run game. They put an eligible number on the 6th offensive lineman, and they come out and throw him the ball. Another little special play. Again, everybody loves to see big man TDs. I hope we don't see any Oregon big man TDs, but you got to be ready for Oregon. They're very well coached, and they're very innovative in so many ways.
Thanks, Coach. They've been tested. They haven't lost. That doesn't make them unbeatable. Oregon is coming off a thrashing of their rivals, Washington. The Ducks have found a way to win every game so far, and this time of year, it's sink or swim week to week.
Ultimately, this is a lot more like March Madness now than it was, 2 years ago. So it's about playing consistent football at the end of the season, time after time after time. So you want to be playing your best ball at this moment. And, we're relatively healthy. We've got a team that's gotten better each week. So I think that sets up for success.
Now, Oregon is the slight favorite, should be a great one in Indianapolis for the Big Ten title. Fantastic opportunity for us this week to speak to one of the greatest quarterbacks in Penn State history. He guided the team to an undefeated season, which included the victory over Oregon in the Rose Bowl. We'll have our Impact interview with Kerry Collins after the break.
Impact Interview is sponsored by the Pocono Mountains, where small-town charm meets big adventures. Book your trip today by visiting PoconoMountains.com.
Our next guest, Kerry Collins, ranks among the top players ever to wear the blue and white. All-American, Heisman finalist, Maxwell Award winner, member of the College Football Hall of Fame, a Super Bowl and Pro Bowl QB, 17-year NFL veteran, and perhaps most importantly, 30 years ago, they played Oregon in the Rose Bowl, the 1994 team, which is storied and everyone knows about. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. It's really just a treat to catch up with you, Kerry. Thanks so much for the time.
Great to be here. Good to talk with you guys.
All right, so look, this is our impact interview, we call it. And, you know, we're going to talk about your impact. The quarterback position at Penn State was fully endowed by a gift you made, and you and your wife, Brooke, have made philanthropy a real priority. Why is that the case? Why is it so important to you?
Well, I think, first of all, the opportunity to be able to give back to a university that gave me so much, was something that I wanted to do, as soon as I was fortunate enough to make it to the NFL. And, since then it's been, a little bit of a calling, with various organizations, various local things, various national things. So, listen, I've been very, very fortunate to have played as long as I did and to be in a position to be able to give back a little bit.
Kerry, during your time in college in the NFL, you obviously played for Joe Paterno and Jim Fossil with the Giants, and certainly the owner, Wellington Mara, is so respected. But what are some of the things that you take away from your time with people like that?
And to that point, I was very fortunate to play for some of the patriarchs of the modern game, right? Of course, Joe, you mentioned Wellington Mara, Al Davis with the Raiders, right? Some of the molders and the formers of the game that we know today, and they each had something different, right? Certainly the discipline and things that I learned from Joe, I took with me throughout every endeavor I've ever taken on. Al Davis was sharp as a tack. He was smart. He had a different way of looking at things, but it was another unique perspective. And of course, a guy like Wellington Mara, who just stood for so much and class and respect and what he did for the NFL and making it what it is today.
Kerry, Marco Rivera was a guest earlier in the season, and it's safe to say he's enthusiastic about that 94 team, and he was looking forward to the celebration. You guys seem to have such a special chemistry, like most championship caliber teams do. What was it about those guys that stood out to you and what that group means to you?
Well, first of all, we were very tight off the field as well. We really, I consider those guys to be lifelong friends, different than anybody I met in the pros or in any other circumstance. And I think the common thread to that team and to our success was we were selfless, right? And we had a bunch of guys that could play football, but nobody cared who got the credit. Nobody cared who got the job done. We just got the job done. And that more than anything carried us through that whole season, whether it be the big win at Michigan, the huge win at homecoming against Ohio State, and of course, the famous Illinois game where we got behind a little bit and we had to kind of scrape and claw our way back in, but we did it. And I think it was really because of that bond that we had and that selfless attitude and the character and the accountability that we all had with each other.
There is a 12-team playoff, so if you had that team together in '94. Come on, how much fun would that have been to tackle that and take them into a 12-team format?
Yeah, I mean, we would love the 2-team format, right? But I tell you, it's made the game exciting. It really has, and I think it's added a level of excitement to it. And I think it's been a long time coming. Is the system perfect? Probably not, but will it ever be? I don't think it'll ever be. But it's a step in the right direction, in my opinion. So. It certainly gives those teams a chance that, it's like, Boise State, what do we know about Boise State? Well, they got a good running back, but what about their defense, and how are they going to match up? And, you get these teams that are hot and all of a sudden they were kind of off the radar. All of a sudden they're knocking people off. And of course, a lot of it has to do with the draw, right? What's your first round matchup? You got to travel, you got to go somewhere, what does that look like? So, but I'll tell you, the SEC and the Big Ten realignment, I wasn't a fan of. I'm like, I'm a purist, I guess you could say, but it really has added a lot of excitement, a lot of great games this year. I mean, there's been phenomenal games every weekend.
Really appreciate one of the program's all-time best joining us this week. Time for a quick break. Make sure you go to NittanyGameWeek.com for the entire conversation with College Football Hall of Famer Kerry Collins, along with our other web-exclusive content like our depth chart and Nittany Game Week podcast. And don't go anywhere. Plenty more to come, including our scrap metal winner. He has another all-around excellent effort against Maryland. How many ways he helps the team race past the Terps when we come back. We're heading into the final minutes on Nittany Game Week.
The Nittany Game Week Depth Chart is brought to you by Burke and Bradley Orthopedics. Located in Pittsburgh, Burke and Bradley Orthopedics is a comprehensive sports medicine practice, providing patients with the most current and innovative approaches in diagnosis and treatment. Scrap Metal is sponsored by the We Are In, voted #1 game day restaurant in Center County. Follow us on Facebook and visit thewearein.com or call for dinner or room reservations.
Well, the defense was excellent again, but their streak of scrap metal winners ends this week. Tom has given some love to a running back.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, isn't it, Jay? But anyway, hey, that's right. I'm going with junior Nick Singleton for his all-around impact against Maryland. He's not just an offensive guy. When he gets a chance to return a kickoff, Nick can be a game breaker. He takes one back 66 yards early in the game to swing some momentum back towards the Nittany Lion. He finishes the day with 170 all-purpose yards when you combine his rushing and receiving numbers.
Well, it's trivia time again, and last week our question was, in which two NFL stadiums has Penn State played Maryland? The answer, Baltimore Memorial Stadium and M&T Bank Stadium. Our winners, Jack Yon of Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, and Andy Bubeck, coincidentally also of Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. Now let's turn to this week's trivia question. Penn State and Oregon have played 4 times. 2 of those matchups have been in bowl games. In which bowl games did they play, Todd?
All right, Quizmaster, thank you. Make sure you check out our depth chart at NittanyGameWeek.com. The depth chart is a collection of businesses that support the show, provide our viewers with places to eat, travel, and shop, or professional services owned and operated by people with a special connection to Penn State. You know, it's always more convenient when you can find everything in one place. For us, that location is NittanyGameWeek.com. Watch full episodes after they air from this year and our previous seasons, impact interviews, and other web-exclusive content like the Nittany Game Week podcast. It's all waiting for you to consume at NittanyGameWeek.com. And we always finish with some pride picks. If you're heading to the game in Indianapolis or having a watch party, show us your spirit and submit your picks on our website. For Jay and Tom, I'm Todd. Thanks so much for watching Nittany Game Week. We'll see you next time.